Hi, this is Connie. Don't mind our little friend. We've assembled a number of our favorite pasta recipes into a collection that may be interesting to you.
And this is Vince. Hope you enjoy the recipes.
Bon appetit. We're going to do another pasta dish today, but it's really different. It's called assassin spaghetti.
Or spaghetti all'assassina. And it's one killer of a pasta dish. Just watch this episode.
Hi, this is Connie, with a really unique way of preparing pasta that you'll enjoy.
And hi, this is Vince. Welcome to our channel, A Quick Recipe.
The entire list of ingredients will be available later.
But pause the video and feel free to make notes as we go along.
We're starting by adding extra virgin olive oil to a saucepan no smaller than 3.5 quarts, over low-medium heat, and with enough oil to cover the bottom of the saucepan. When the oil is up to heat, add half of the 8 cloves of finely chopped garlic we'll be using. Once the garlic just starts to turn color, add 28 ounces of tomatoes. We've pureed whole peeled San Marzano tomatoes, but you can use pureed tomatoes, or even bottled tomato sauce. What is important is that at least 28 ounces of tomato product are used. The choice is yours. What we'll be doing in the next step is reducing or extending the tomatoes by introducing another liquid. The other liquid can be 28 ounces of water, but we're using chicken stock instead. Stock will give the sauce a richer flavor than just plain tap water. Let the tomato mixture come to a simmer. Then add 1 tablespoon of kosher salt. And 1 tablespoon of cane sugar, which will reduce the acidity of the tomatoes. Now add enough olive oil to cover the bottom of a large seasoned cast iron or a non-stick skillet. You'll see later that a stainless steel or aluminum skillet won't work. When the oil is up to temp, add 2 tablespoons of red chili flake. Don't confuse red chili flake with red pepper flake. They're made from different types of pepper, and red pepper flake is considerably hotter. You can use red pepper flake, but cut back on the amount. Use your own judgment and season to your own taste. Add the remainder of the fresh chopped garlic to the oil and chili flake, and let it marry at a low-medium heat. Only allow the garlic to lightly brown. This should only take about a couple of minutes. Anything more will change the flavor of the garlic from a slight sweetness to a subtle bitterness. When we add the spaghetti, we're going to sauté it slightly in the chilies and the garlic, coating it in the seasoned oil thoroughly. Continue to turn the pasta as it begins to take on the temperature of the skillet. Now that the spaghetti has slightly browned, we're going to ladle in a good amount of the tomato broth mixture. Enough of the mixture to allow all of the pasta to begin the full cooking process. This is the part of the recipe that is the most important. Basically, the pasta is taking on the flavor of the tomatoes while cooking at the same time. It's a unique way to cook pasta and flavoring it simultaneously. And it is necessary to continually turn the pasta, making sure that all of it gets equal attention. Now that the tomato broth has been absorbed by the spaghetti, we're going to repeat the process and add more tomato broth, but not as much, just a few ladles. We're also going to continue to turn the pasta, and let it take on some color, almost like caramelizing it slightly. Be careful not to burn the pasta. You want the skillet to be at medium-high temp, but too high of a temperature will cause the starch and sugars in the pasta and in the tomatoes to burn. The broth has reduced again, so add a few more ladles of the tomato broth. Take a moment to subscribe to our quick recipe channel and give us a like.
It makes it possible to create more episodes for you.
Continue to turn the pasta so that it absorbs the tomato and adds color from the heat of the skillet. Many cooks and chefs that have prepared this recipe online say that the more caramelized the pasta gets, the more rich the flavor. The number of times that we have prepared this dish, we've found that the extreme caramelizing that they propose only makes it bitter. The pasta is browning and has absorbed the tomato broth, but it has not reached the point of being fully cooked, so it's time to add more broth. The pasta is cooked to perfection, al dente. When plating the spaghetti, add a little of the tomato broth. Here's the list of ingredients for your assassin spaghetti. A few cups of extra virgin olive oil, 8 cloves of fresh finely chopped garlic, 28 ounces of peeled tomatoes or tomato puree, 28 ounces of chicken stock or water, but we suggest the chicken stock, 2 tablespoons red chili flake, or your favorite pepper adjusted to taste, 1 pound of spaghetti, 1 tablespoon of kosher salt, a tablespoon of cane sugar, grated pecorino romano cheese, and some fresh basil finely chopped.
You can review the list in the Show More section below.
Drizzle a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. Sprinkle a little of your favorite cheese. For this dish it's pecorino romano. And then top it off with some finely chopped fresh basil.
Delicious.
Bon appetit. Hi, this is Connie. Today's recipe is for a basic staple found in many households, spaghetti and meatballs marinara. But this recipe has a secret and unique ingredient for making meatballs.
And hi, this is Vince. Welcome to our channel, A Quick Recipe.
The entire list of ingredients will be available later. Feel free to pause the video and make notes as we go along.
And please comment, or suggest a recipe you'd like to see us do.
We're going to start with making our meatballs. The first step is to add all of the dry ingredients in a large bowl, except for the meat. That includes 2.5 teaspoons of kosher salt, 3/4 of a teaspoon of coarse ground black pepper, and 3/4 of a cup of breadcrumbs. We're using panko breadcrumbs, but plain breadcrumbs will work. And finally, 1/2 cup of grated Parmesan cheese. Now for the wet ingredients. Add 4 medium-sized eggs that are thoroughly mixed. And 6 teaspoons of ice-cold water, that's 1/3 of a cup, which helps to keep your meatballs moist and from drying out during cooking. And now the secret ingredient, 1/2 cup of whole milk ricotta cheese. Plus 1/2 cup each of finely chopped fresh basil and straight Italian parsley. Now mix everything well. It's time to add 1 pound of ground pork and 1 pound of ground chuck. Chuck has a greater fat content, which means that the meatballs will hold together better than a leaner cut. After thoroughly mixing the wet and dry ingredients with the meat, we're going to form our meatballs. We're using an ice cream scoop to measure the meatballs, which gives us a meatball that is pretty uniform in size, about 1 1/3 ounces each. And then they're going to be rolled in flour. The starch in the flour will caramelize quickly and brown the meat, giving it a deep color and added flavor. To make it easier to brown without sticking, use a non-stick, or cast iron pan and add about a quarter cup of extra virgin olive oil. Place the meatballs so that there is enough space around each one to allow them to brown evenly. But at the same time, remember that we're going to finish cooking them in the sauce, so we don't want to cook them completely. Now that the water is taking on temp and we're about to start the sauce, we're adding salt to the pasta water. Now it's time to start the marinara sauce. Add enough extra virgin olive oil to cover the bottom of a large saucepan that has been heated to low-medium temp. Now add 7 cloves of chopped fresh garlic. Make sure to only lightly brown the garlic. Overly sautéed garlic becomes very bitter. The tomatoes are next. We're using 28 ounces of peeled San Marzano tomatoes, which we've pureed. A simple tomato sauce also works as well, because we're making a marinara sauce, which is a lighter and less complex pasta sauce. Now we add 3 ounces of tomato paste. Normally we use 6 ounces with our red sauces, but again, this is a marinara sauce, which is lighter, and not as heavy as the normal spaghetti sauce. 1 teaspoon each of oregano and dried Italian herbs. Start the seasoning. Now add an optional ingredient for a little more flavor depth. Those cheese rinds that you've saved from Parmesan or Romano block cheese. And 2.5 teaspoons of kosher salt, and 3/4 of a teaspoon of coarse black pepper. For additional complexity of flavor, add a half cup of dry white wine. It really adds some distinct character to the sauce. And now we're going to introduce the partially cooked meatballs to the sauce, so that the meat can regain temperature at complete cooking. We're going to cover the pan and let it simmer for about 15 minutes under low-medium heat. Take a moment to subscribe to our quick recipe channel and give us a like.
It makes it possible to create more episodes for you.
Now that the sauce is simmering, we're dropping the pasta, making sure that it's fully in the water, cooking it to al dente, or firm to the bite, without being hard or grainy. Here's the list of ingredients for the spaghetti and meatballs marinara. This is what you'll need for about 24 meatballs. 1 pound each of ground pork, and of ground beef, preferably chuck. 2.5 teaspoons of kosher salt. 3/4 of a teaspoon of coarse black pepper. 3/4 of a cup of plain breadcrumbs. Half cup of grated Parmesan cheese. 4 medium-sized eggs. Half cup of ice-cold water. A half cup of whole milk ricotta cheese. A half cup of both fresh basil and parsley chopped. And half cup of all-purpose flour. And for the marinara sauce, extra virgin olive oil. 7 cloves of fresh garlic chopped. 28 ounces of tomatoes, either San Marzano's pureed or a simple tomato sauce. 3 ounces of tomato paste. 1 teaspoon each of dried oregano and dried Italian herbs. Kosher salt and coarse black pepper to taste. And if you like to try something different, the option of adding the rinds from Parmesan or Romano cheese. And of course, 1 pound of spaghetti, but our preference is bucatini.
You can review the list in the Show More section below. Plus there's a download link there also for the entire recipe. Now it's time to enjoy this basic pasta treat. And finish it off with some freshly grated Parmesan or Romano cheese.
Bon appetit! Today the menu is for a quick and authentic dish that has just a few ingredients, but it's so full of zesty flavor.
Pasta Aglio e Olio. or loosely translates as pasta with garlic and olive oil. Just watch this episode.
Hi, this is Connie, with another quick and tasty pasta meal that your gang will enjoy.
And hi, this is Vince. Welcome to a quick recipe.
To start, let's review the basic ingredients you'll need to feed 4 to 6 adults. But first, let's emphasize that just because we're using quite a lot of garlic, the dish is still not as pungent as the title may suggest. We'll start with 6 cloves of fresh garlic, 8 anchovy fillets, extra virgin olive oil, 1 pound of your favorite long or strand pasta, a 1/4 cup of kosher salt for the pasta water, 1 teaspoon of Calabrian chili paste, a 1/2 cup of capers, and 1 cup of grated Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, and that's it.
You can review them again later in the Show More section below. Let's get started. We're going to thinly slice our garlic, so that when we sauté the garlic it becomes tender and flavorful without overpowering the sauce.
Add extra virgin olive oil to a low-medium preheated pan. And make sure that the oil covers the entire bottom of the pan. We're now adding the anchovies, which we have chopped into 1/4-inch pieces. They'll break down more easily than if left whole. We're using half the normal salt for the pasta because of the saltiness of the anchovies and capers. That's 1/4 cup of kosher salt for 4 quarts of water. By the way, don't be afraid that using 8 anchovies is too much. They're not overpowering once they are cooked. See how the anchovies have started to almost melt into the oil. Now we're going to drop the pasta. We're using bucatini, which is excellent for oil-based sauces. It's a strand, or long pasta with a hole running through the center of it. Unlike a lot of our recipes, the garlic is cut into thin slices. That's so the garlic sautés more slowly than if finely chopped, allowing the garlic to caramelize slowly, making the sauce sweeter. But remember to use a low-medium heat so the garlic doesn't burn. Take a moment to subscribe to our quick recipe channel, and give us a like.
It makes it possible to create more episodes for you.
To add a little heat to the recipe, we're using Calabrian chili paste, instead of crushed red pepper. We like to use this version of heat because it adds a level of smokiness to the dish that other peppers don't. The capers come next. Notice that except for the salt added to the pasta water, no other salt is added. Between the capers and the anchovies, there's absolutely no need for additional salt. We're adding about a 1/2 cup of pasta water. The starchy water not only thickens and adds flavor but actually binds the pasta to the sauce. Now that the pasta is nearly done, we're going to add it directly into the sauce. We don't want to strain the pasta, but just add it to the sauce so that the starchy coating on the pasta, which acts almost like a glue, causes the sauce to adhere to the pasta. Thoroughly toss the pasta in the sauce, to make sure that the pasta is completely coated in sauce. We don't want any of that flavor to be lost. Now add about the entire cup of Parmigiano Reggiano to the pasta, but keep a little for final garnish. And again toss the pasta so that the cheese is evenly distributed throughout the dish.
Now it's time to plate it up. Look at all that delicious pasta. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . Now that's traditional Italian cooking.
As a final touch, we're going to drizzle a little extra virgin olive oil. And finish it with a little of the Parmigiano Reggiano we saved. Bon appetit! Today's recipe is quite close to Vince. It's his mother's own recipe.
And it was a Thursday night dinner every week. My mom's pasta marinara, or mia mamma pasta alla marinara.
Just watch this episode. Hi, this is Connie, with another quick and tasty pasta dish that your gang will enjoy.
And hi, this is Vince.
Welcome to A Quick Recipe. We'll give the list of ingredients later in this episode, but as we always suggest, do your prep work in advance. It makes it flow so much better.
Let's get started. We're dicing instead of mincing or slicing our 5 cloves of garlic. Less if that's your preference, so that the flavor permeates throughout the sauce without being too overpowering. We're dicing 1 large sweet onion for the same reason. The difference between dicing versus mincing is that dicing allows fewer enzymes to be released. By dicing, the fragrance and flavor are realized due to the chemical reaction dicing causes, but not as overbearing as when mincing. Now add extra virgin olive oil to a saucepan that has been preheated to low-medium heat. The oil should cover the entire bottom of the pan. Once the oil is up to temp, add your onion. The onion goes in first because it will take a little longer to cook up properly. The heat should be low-medium heat so that the onion cooks slowly, which gives it a sweeter flavor and a more aromatic presence, rather than a high heat that produces more bitterness. Next we add 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. This will give us another level, or layer of fat, along with the olive oil. Fat is one of the elements that adds flavor to a dish. A teaspoon of Calabrian chili paste adds a little heat, which is quite often an underlying flavor that makes a dish more appealing. But guests usually don't realize why. And still another layer of seasoning with 1 tablespoon of coarse black pepper. Don't be afraid of it being too spicy. That's where home cooks fail, by under-seasoning. Now the fresh garlic goes in. But remember to adjust to a low-medium heat so the garlic doesn't burn. High heat ruins garlic by making it bitter. When your onion and garlic start to be translucent, open up a spot in the center of the saucepan, and add 6 ounces of tomato paste. Allow the tomato paste to brown a little so that it also takes on the other flavors already in the pan. Add 1 tablespoon of garlic powder. You can adjust it to taste, but if you want some depth in flavor, use a full tablespoon. We're using a 28-ounce can of whole San Marzano tomatoes that we've pureed. But feel free to use the canned tomatoes of your choice, like diced tomatoes. Now 2 tablespoons of dried basil. See how the layers of flavors are building up.
Take a moment to subscribe to our Quick Recipe channel. And give us a like.
It makes it possible to create more episodes for you. And a tablespoon of dried oregano. If you have it, use Mexican oregano. It has a deeper and more aromatic character than normal oregano. Make sure that you're using fresh herbs and spices, which haven't been sitting in the cabinet since Adam and Eve were dating. Now we're dropping the pasta into a gallon of water that has been salted with a half cup of kosher salt. The rule of thumb for salting water is 2 tablespoons for every quart of water. And remember to give it a good stir from time to time. A trick that my mother always used to lessen the tartness of the tomatoes was to add a tablespoon of cane sugar to her sauce. It really reduces the acidity of the tomatoes. Hand tear a half cup of fresh basil at the point that the sauce is almost finished. We don't want the basil to boil, but just wilt so that it remains at its most aromatic level. We're adding a half cup to a cup of water from the pasta. The starchy water not only thickens and adds flavor, but actually binds the pasta to the sauce. Now that the pasta is nearly done, we're going to add it directly into the sauce. We don't want to strain the pasta, but just add it to the sauce so that the starchy coating on the pasta, which acts almost like glue, and causes the sauce to adhere to the pasta. Meanwhile, the pasta will continue to cook while stirring it in. Fully toss the pasta in the sauce to make sure that the pasta is completely coated in sauce. The pasta we're using is penne rigate. Penne rigate has ridges and cavities that help to hold onto the sauce. Here's the list of ingredients for my mom's pasta marinara. 1 large sweet onion diced. Extra virgin olive oil. 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. 1 teaspoon Calabrian chili paste. 1 tablespoon coarse black pepper. 4 to 5 cloves of diced fresh garlic. 1 6-ounce can of tomato paste. 1 tablespoon garlic powder. 1 28-ounce can of San Marzano tomatoes. 2 tablespoons of dried basil. 1 tablespoon dried oregano. 1 tablespoon of cane sugar. 1 pound of your favorite pasta. A half cup of fresh basil. And some Parmigiano Reggiano cheese to finish the dish off. You can review the list in the Show More section below.
Now it's time to plate it up. Isn't it beautiful?
Look at all that delicious pasta. Now that's real traditional Italian cooking.
And the final touch, a little of the Parmigiano Reggiano. Bon appetit! Today's recipe we're going to prepare is a traditional Italian dish that dates back to the 1700s, linguini with white clam sauce.
Which translates to linguini al sugo bianco di Vongole in Italian. Just watch this episode.
Hi, this is Connie, with another tasty and traditional Italian pasta dish that your gang will enjoy.
And hi, this is Vince. Welcome to a quick recipe.
You'll see the complete list of ingredients later in the episode.
And feel free to pause the video and take notes.
You'll want to prep your ingredients in advance, it really helps the workflow and prevents mistakes. Now pour extra virgin olive oil into a preheated saucepan at low-medium heat, covering the entire bottom of the pan with oil. Once the oil is up to temp, add 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Next come the chopped anchovy fillets. We're using a full 2-ounce can. It may sound like a lot of anchovies, but once they're melted into the olive oil and butter, their pungency totally transforms and infuses the oil with massive flavor. When it comes to garlic, white clam sauce makes it a must. We're using an entire small head of garlic, which is about 12 cloves. Why a small head? Because the small heads tend to be more flavorful. Again, it may sound like a lot, but once the garlic slowly sautés under low heat, it loses its strength and becomes more aromatic. And now we add the needed heat to the recipe. First, a teaspoon of Calabrian chili paste, a teaspoon of coarse black pepper, and a half teaspoon of red pepper flake. Don't be afraid of it being too spicy, it's the heat that makes the difference and makes the dish more appealing. It's where home cooks fail, by under-seasoning. Add a half cup of white wine, like a Pinot Grigio or Sauvignon Blanc. And let the alcohol reduce for about 8 to 10 minutes. Here's where you can make a choice: 8 ounces of clam juice, as I'm using, or choose chicken broth. The clam juice will give it a stronger clam presence, while the chicken stock will present a more buttery taste. Now we're dropping the pasta in 4 quarts of water, seasoned with 1/4 cup of kosher salt. The title of the episode is for linguini, but our gang prefers bucatini. Here's the list of ingredients for linguini with white clam sauce. Extra virgin olive oil. A 2-ounce can of flat anchovies coarsely chopped. 3 tablespoons unsalted butter. 1 small head of fresh garlic chopped, that's about 12 cloves. 1 teaspoon Calabrian chili paste and coarse black pepper. A half teaspoon red pepper flake. A half cup of white wine. 1 pound linguini or your favorite long pasta. 1/4 cup kosher salt for the pasta water. 8 ounces of clam juice or chicken broth. 2 6.5-ounce cans of minced clams. And a half cup of chopped flat parsley.
You can review the list in the Show More section below.
Bring the sauce to a low simmer. We don't want to boil the clams. That would make them rubbery. Now add the clams. Canned clams only need to be heated thoroughly for a few minutes. Add the pasta from the pot to the saucepan. Mix the pasta thoroughly. It may look like there's a lot of liquid from the sauce, but all of it will be used when plating each serving. Add 1/4 to a half cup of chopped flat Italian parsley, depending on your taste. Italian parsley has a more robust flavor and a more silky texture than curly parsley.
Now it's time to plate up the linguini with white clam sauce.
Take a moment to subscribe to our quick recipe channel and give us a like.
It makes it possible to create more episodes for you.
And make sure to bathe the pasta with the sauce and all of its seasoning and clams.
Another truly authentic Italian pasta dish.
Bon appetit! Penne alla vodka is a traditional pasta dish found in many fine restaurants that you can recreate in your own kitchen, and that will rival the most acclaimed eating establishments.
Watch this episode to see how it's done.
Hi, this is Connie, with another quick and truly tasty pasta recipe that always gets raves.
And this is Vince. Welcome to our channel, A Quick Recipe.
Today we're going to cook a pasta dish. It will rival the best of restaurants. Here are the basic ingredients we'll need. Extra virgin olive oil, 1 medium sweet onion, fresh garlic, tomato paste, 1 28-ounce can of San Marzano tomatoes, red pepper flake, kosher salt, coarse black pepper, heavy cream, a little bit of vodka, fresh basil, and Parmigiana cheese.
You can review them again later in the Show More section below. Let's get started.
A good practice for successful cooking is to do as much prep work as possible before starting to bring the ingredients together.
It reduces a lot of the stress of timing the stages of the recipe and possibly ruining the dish. The first step is to take a medium-sized sweet onion and coarsely chop it. We use a sweet variety of onions for 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is the less acidic nature of sweet onions. Sweet onions have an absence of a high amount of sulfur as other types do. And second, they break down more slowly during cooking, and have more moisture, which helps to avoid the bitter taste that the other varieties have.
They also contain more sugar, which results in a caramelization that is perfect for this type of dish.
Next, we'll coarsely chop 4 to 5 cloves of fresh garlic. Avoid using any green shoots. They're another source of bitterness.
Take a moment to subscribe to our quick recipe channel and give us a like.
It makes it possible to create more episodes for you.
While you have the cutting board out, julienne the fresh basil that will be used for garnishing when we plate the pasta. Unlike some of the recipes for penne alla vodka, don't bother draining the liquid of the San Marzano tomatoes. Just blend the entire 28-ounce can of tomatoes in a food processor with the smallest blade available, or use a plunge blender as we are.
You basically just want to break down the tomatoes until they are of an even consistency.
Preheat a good-sized pan under medium heat, then add enough extra virgin olive oil to cover the bottom of the pan. Once the oil is brought up to heat, add the onions. We're going to lower the heat to low-medium and continue to sauté the onions until soft, with a hint of caramelization. Once the onion cooks up, then add your garlic. It's important to allow the garlic to soften, but not burn. We don't want it to become bitter.
Connie, that's some aroma.
When the garlic reaches its desired softness, add the half teaspoon of red pepper flake, a half tablespoon of kosher salt, and a half tablespoon of ground black pepper. Give it a good mix. And then add the 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. Now add your blended San Marzanos. Make sure not to use a metal spoon, so to prevent any transfer of a metallic taste to the sauce. To bring out the rich flavor of the tomatoes, we're going to let the sauce simmer on low heat for 25 to 30 minutes. During that time we should prepare the water for cooking the penne.
The rule of thumb for salt when cooking pasta is 2 tablespoons of salt for every quart of water. That's 1/2 cup of salt per gallon.
Don't forget to stir the pasta occasionally to prevent it from sticking together. We're going to cook the penne about a minute short of being completely cooked. We'll finish off cooking the pasta when we add it to the sauce. Look how beautifully the sauce has reduced. That's when we introduce the 12 ounces of heavy cream. Remember to use a lower heat setting that will keep the sauce warm while preventing the cream from scalding. Continuously stir the cream into the sauce so that it heats evenly and thoroughly marries with the tomatoes. Now stir in the 1/4 cup of vodka. We want to add the penne straight from the pot into the vodka sauce. Make sure that the penne is thoroughly mixed into the sauce. Don't forget, we're finishing the cooking of the pasta, as well as coating it with that beautifully flavorful sauce.
Now it's time to plate our penne alla vodka.
What does it taste like? It's creamy and silky smooth on the tongue, with a perfect blend of sweetness from the heavy cream, and a bit of acid from the San Marzanos. To finish the dish off, drizzle some extra virgin olive oil. Followed up with fresh julienne basil. And a good sprinkle of grated Parmigiana cheese.
Wow! That looks and smells incredible.
Bon appetit! Today we're going to prepare pasta puttanesca, a hearty and robust pasta dish with so many flavors, on so many levels, that range from tangy tomato, to the meaty but slightly sweet taste of olives. Hi, this is Connie, with another truly different variation of Italian cuisine in our series of pasta dishes.
And hi, this is Vince. Welcome to our channel. A quick recipe.
To start, let's review the basic ingredients you'll need. 1/2 cup of extra virgin olive oil. 6 flat anchovy fillets, finely chopped. 6 cloves of fresh garlic. 1/2 teaspoon of crushed red pepper flake. 1/2 teaspoon coarse black pepper. 2 teaspoons sriracha sauce. 1/4 cup kosher salt. A 28-ounce canned plum or diced tomatoes. 1 tablespoon of sugar. 1 1/2 cups of pitted and chopped olives. 3 tablespoons of capers. 4 tablespoons of fresh basil. And 1 pound of pasta.
Let's get started.
Like always, we suggest doing as much prep work as possible before starting to combine the ingredients. So Vince is going to blend the San Marzano plum tomatoes with a plunge blender.
You can substitute diced tomatoes if you like, but we love the San Marzano because of their distinct flavor and lower acidity.
And thanks for chopping the garlic. We use 6 cloves, but feel free to adjust the amount to suit your taste. While Vince is prepping the rest of the ingredients, like chopping the anchovies, olives, and pre-measuring the rest of the items, I'll add extra virgin olive oil to a warm large pan, at medium heat. Then I'll add the 6 chopped anchovy fillets. We want them to almost melt and become part of the olive oil. Now add the garlic. And lower the heat. We want to soften the garlic and infuse the olive oil, but don't want to brown the garlic too much. It might turn the recipe toward the bitter side. Now add the 1/2 teaspoon of crushed red pepper flake. A 1/2 teaspoon of coarse black pepper. 2 teaspoons of sriracha sauce, or your favorite hot chili-based sauce. When I add the 6 ounces of tomato paste, I always like to give it a chance to marry a little first in the olive oil with the rest of the seasonings. It's another opportunity to help infuse the tomato flavor with the herbs. Add the tomatoes, and bring the sauce up to low-medium heat. We're adding rigatoni rigate to our pasta water that has been salted with only half the amount normally used. In this case, 1/4 cup of kosher salt per 4 quarts. That's because of the high salt content of the other ingredients. Now comes the 1.5 cups of olives. We used 2 different types: Sicilian green Castelvetrano and Greek Kalamata. Castelvetranos are known for their meaty yet buttery flavor, because they're not cured and are treated to remove any bitterness. And the Kalamatas because they give a rich, distinctive smoky and fruity flavor. After the sauce is brought back up to temperature and it comes to a low simmer, we add 3 tablespoons of capers. If you see that the sauce is beginning to reduce significantly, add a little of the pasta water. While off camera, we dissolved a tablespoon of sugar into a little bit of the hot pasta water and added it to the sauce. The sugar helps to lower the acidity of the tomatoes for those that might find the sauce too tart. The sauce should then come back to a low simmer. And just before the pasta is ready to be mixed into the sauce, add the fresh basil. We wait until now to add the basil because we don't want to overcook it, which would result in the basil losing its aromatics and sweetness. Just before the pasta is fully cooked, introduce it to the sauce, where it will continue to cook to perfection. Take a moment to subscribe to our quick recipe channel and give us a like.
It makes it possible to create more episodes for you.
Mix it well into the sauce so that this savory mixture clings to every bit of the pasta. That's why we use a pasta like rigatoni rigate. It has ridges that grab and hold the sauce so that the sauce and pasta become one.
By the way, rigate in Italian means ridged. Now it's ready to plate your delicious concoction. Wow, that's colorful, and the smell is intoxicating.
We'll drizzle it with a little bit of good extra virgin olive oil. Plus a few chiffonades of fresh basil. And a liberal sprinkling of your favorite cheese. Bon appetit! Want a dish that your family and friends think was prepared by a 4-star chef, with ingredients that are available in every grocery store.
Watch this episode to see how it's done.
Hi, this is Connie, with another quick and truly tasty dinner recipe that always gets raves.
And this is Vince. Welcome to our channel, A Quick Recipe.
Today we're going to prepare a pasta dish that is so unique you'd expect it was one of the celebrity chefs that made it. Here are the basic ingredients we'll need, which feeds 4 to 6 adults.
You can review them again later in the Show More section below.
3 of the key principles of turning out dishes like a fine dining restaurant are the proper and abundant use of seasoning, particularly salt, the multi-layering of fat, like olive oil, butter, and heavy cream, and properly using heat, sometimes excessive amounts of it, and at times, none at all. We'll be applying those principles in preparing this savory pasta dish.
Let's get started. You can use bottled or canned roasted bell peppers, but if you're up to it, this is how you can roast your own. Begin by taking 3 medium-sized red bell peppers. Cut them in half and core them out. We're cutting them in half so that we don't have to bother turning them while roasting them under the broiler. Take a metal pan that you really don't care about, or wrap a good one in aluminum foil on all sides to protect it from being under the broiler. Lightly but evenly coat the pan with olive oil. That will help the peppers from sticking to the pan. Then lightly coat the pepper's skin with olive oil. It will enhance the roasting and make the skin easier to remove.
Take a moment to subscribe to our quick recipe channel and give us a like.
It makes it possible to create more episodes for you.
After oiling the peppers, they'll be ready for the broiler, which should be set at a lower setting to allow them to roast slowly. Put the peppers into the broiler on an upper shelf and wait until they are slightly charred. For those that have problems digesting bell peppers, it's usually the skin that causes the problem. The trick in removing the skin is placing the still hot peppers immediately into a sealed container, or a bowl covered with cling wrap. The heat and moisture from the peppers create steam, making the skins blister and easier to remove.
Take 1 large onion, and cut it in half. Then peel it. Then thinly slice each half.
As you may have noticed, we do as much prepping as possible before starting to cook a recipe. It makes it easier to concentrate on the timing of cooking, and not concern ourselves with whether the next ingredient is ready.
Coarsely chop 3, or depending upon your love of it, 4 or more cloves of garlic, and put it aside.
Add extra virgin olive oil to a large deep pan that has been preheated over medium heat. Make sure that the oil covers the entire bottom of the pan. Once the oil comes up to temperature, add the onions. Here's another tip. Lower the pan to low-medium heat. Cooking the onions at low-medium heat gives you softer onions, with a sweeter flavor. That's because the sugars are allowed to break down, making the sauce smoother, when blended later in the food processor. Then add a good pinch of salt to the onions once they start to take some heat. Continue to stir the onions, allowing them to become lightly caramelized.
After the roasted peppers cool down, take a sharp knife and scrape or shave the charred skin. Don't be concerned if some of the char can't be removed. It will add a bit of smoky flavor. Now chop the peppers into 1-inch pieces, so that they will be easy to liquefy in the blender.
As you can see, the onions are fully broken down. Now add the peppers. Add another good-sized pinch of salt. Followed up with your garlic. One teaspoon of sriracha sauce. And 2 teaspoons of crushed red pepper flake. After working them in, add 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. But make sure at this point that the ingredients are brought to a point of softening, particularly the garlic. If garlic becomes burnt, it will bitter the sauce. Bring the pan to low-medium heat, and add the pint of heavy cream. Be careful if the pan is too hot, we don't want to scald the cream. Keep on stirring the sauce, and notice how it thickens. The entire process will take about 5 minutes. What you're watching is the time-lapse sequence of the sauce condensing. At this point, the sauce goes into a blender to smoothen the sauce. Once your pasta water comes to a boil on high heat, add your pasta first. Then add your salt. The rule of thumb for salting pasta water is 2 tablespoons of salt for every quart of water. That's 1/2 cup per gallon. Don't forget to stir to prevent it from sticking together. Make sure that the pan has been wiped clean. Take the sauce from the blender and pour it back into the pan, and bring the temperature back up under medium heat. Once the sauce is up to temperature, remove it from the heat, and add 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter. This is the second layer of fat, which helps to bring the sauce to fine dining levels, and gives the sauce a glossy appearance. Now add 1 cup of grated Pecorino Romano cheese, that adds the final layers of fat and salt, which is inherent in this cheese. If the sauce were still under higher heat, the cheese would stick to the pan and not blend properly with the sauce. If the sauce thickens, add a little pasta water to thin it out, but add a little at a time to make sure not to water down the sauce.
Don't forget to set aside about 10% of the sauce for drizzling at plating time.
About 60 seconds before the pasta would be fully cooked, add it directly from the pot to the sauce. Mixing the pasta thoroughly with the warm sauce will finish the cooking process for the pasta.
Now it's time to plate this fantastic dish.
Drizzle some of the sauce that was set aside. And sprinkle a generous amount of the Pecorino Romano to finish it off. Bon appétit! Hi, this is Connie. Today's recipe for pasta Amatriciana is a classic blend of chilies, tomatoes, and that differential ingredient, pancetta, making it loaded with lively and complex flavors.
And hi, this is Vince. Welcome to our channel, A Quick Recipe.
The entire list of ingredients will be available later. Feel free to pause the video and make notes as we go along.
And leave a comment or a suggestion for a recipe.
Vince will start by trimming our meat product, pancetta. He's removing the rind, which is the outer layer of salt, black pepper, and other spices used in the curing process. Now he's cutting it into equally sized half-inch cubes. This way, when we sauté the meat and render it of its fat, it will all brown evenly. The traditional pork cut for this dish is guanciale, if you can find it. To brown the pancetta, we're going to cover the bottom of the pan with extra virgin olive oil, that's at medium heat. Once the oil is up to temp, add all of the pancetta and allow it to take on the color that's light brown. When it reaches color, remove the pancetta from the pan with a slotted spoon, leaving all of the rendered fat in the pan. See the result of cubing it in uniformly cut pieces, the meat browned so evenly and beautifully. We're about to deglaze with a half cup of white wine, so be careful, add the wine very slowly and carefully, you've got a lot of hot oil in the pan. The wine is not only a deglazing agent, but it adds an additional flavor level. See how quickly the pancetta bits release from the pan. Now add a good amount of coarse black pepper, and a teaspoon of Calabrian chili paste, red chili flake, or the red pepper or chili that you prefer. Give it a good stir. And now the 28 ounces of pureed San Marzano tomatoes, or your favorite tomato sauce. Now drop your pound of tubular pasta, like bucatini or rigatoni. Take a moment to subscribe to our Quick Recipe channel, and give us a like.
It makes it possible to create more episodes for you.
Now that the sauce is back up to a low simmer, we can add back the brown pancetta. And then when the sauce is again back to a simmer, and before the pasta has reached al dente, transfer all of the pasta into the saucepan. And give the pan a good stir. Now we're going to add the 1 cup of cheese that the recipe calls for. The typical cheese of choice is Pecorino Romano, but it may be too salty for you, so substitute it with a Parmigiano Reggiano or a domestic Parmesan, Romano or Asiago. They're made from cow's milk, and not goat or sheep's milk like Pecorino Romano, which doesn't give it that earthy grass flavor. Plus they're not aged with coatings of coarse salt, so there isn't that salty, earthy taste. Mix the cheese in a little at a time so it covers the pasta evenly without becoming a big cheesy lump.
Here's the list of ingredients for the pasta amatriciana.
You'll need 3/4 pound pancetta or guanciale, if available. Extra virgin olive oil. 28 ounces of pureed tomatoes or tomato sauce. A half cup of dry white wine. 2 tablespoons of kosher salt for pasta water. 1 teaspoon of Calabrian chili paste, or red chili flake. 1 cup of grated cheese. 1 pound of tubular pasta, like bucatini or rigatoni. Additional kosher salt and coarse black pepper for seasoning to your taste.
You can review the list in the Show More section below. Plus there's a link to download a hard copy of the entire recipe. Now it's time to plate this pasta feast. And finish it off with some cheese. And some of that rendered pancetta that we put aside.
Bon appetit! Here's a favorite of family and friends. A tomato and butter pasta dish that they always enjoy, and it's so easy and so savory. Hi, this is Connie, with another quick and truly tasty dinner recipe that always gets raves.
And this is Vince. Welcome to our channel, A Quick Recipe.
Today we're going to do an easy and super tasty pasta dish, with great flavor and just a few basic ingredients, which feeds 4 to 6 adults.
You can review them in the Show More section below. Let's get started.
Take a good-sized saucepan or skillet and bring it up to medium heat. Then add enough extra virgin olive oil to cover the bottom of the pan.
After coarsely cutting a large-sized onion, add the onion to the preheated pan.
Add the salt, coarse black pepper, and crushed red pepper flake. Take a moment to subscribe to our Quick Recipe channel and give us a like.
It makes it possible to create more episodes for you.
Follow up with the 8 tablespoons of unsalted butter. While the onion and butter marry, prepare the tomatoes. You'll need 3 pints of either cherry or grape tomatoes. We prefer cherry tomatoes, but they weren't available, so we were left to use grape tomatoes.
This method of slicing is the quickest way to get them done in a hurry. Even those that try to get away.
Prep your garlic while the onion gets closer to being tender. And then add it to the onion mixture. Once the onion is tender, add the cut tomatoes. The color is incredible, and the aroma is absolutely intoxicating. Add another layer of seasoning to the tomatoes. It helps to level and even out the taste of the seasonings throughout the recipe. It will take a while for the tomatoes to break down, about 20 minutes. In the meantime, bring your pasta water to a boil. Once the pasta water comes to a full boil, add salt to the water. A good general rule of thumb for salting pasta water is 2 tablespoons of salt for every quart of water, or 1/2 cup of salt per gallon. Add the pasta, and make sure to stir continuously until it is totally taken up by the boiling water. Just about 60 seconds short of being fully cooked. Add the pasta directly from the pot to the tomato butter sauce. If the sauce begins to look like it needs more liquid, add some of the pasta water to the sauce. It will increase the amount of sauce and will help in completing the pasta's cooking. Be careful not to allow the pasta to be overcooked. Pasta should always be al dente, which means firm when bitten. Now add the fresh basil, and blend it into the pasta until it becomes tender and fully accepted by the sauce.
That smells incredible. Time to plate up.
You know, many cooks that are new to this type of cooking are afraid of using garlic and pepper, particularly spices like red pepper flake.
That's a shame, because that's what usually makes a good recipe great. Make sure not to forget to finish the plating with that fantastic sauce.
Voila! Don't be afraid to add some parm to complete the dish with its fruity nuttiness. Along with a good glass of wine. Bon appétit! Here are a few more tips and recipes that you may find interesting. Also, check out our website, aquickrecipe.com, for more interesting cooking ideas.
Thanks for watching. See you next time on our YouTube channel, A Quick Recipe.